The Hallow Punk is one of 2 new event towers from the Hexscape Halloween event, and it is obtained by beating every night on easy mode. You can also buy it for 399 Robux in the shop, so in this video I'll be showcasing all of its stats, values, and uses, then give my personal ranking of how good it is. So hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get started. It costs 300 cash to place, meaning you can get 2 of them on the first wave. This tower attacks using a rocket launcher, having a pretty slow fire rate. This missile deals splash damage and knocks enemies back. After being knocked back, enemies have a short cooldown before they can be knocked again. At level 0, it deals 3 damage, has a fire rate of 5.008, 18 range, 3.5 explosion size, 10 knockback, and deals 0.59 DPS. Because it fires explosives, it can of course damage lead enemies. At level 1, for a total of 750 cash, its damage is increased to 6, its fire rate is decreased to 3.758, its range is increased to 20, and its DPS is increased to 1.59. At level 2, for a total of 3,500 cash, its damage is increased to 25, its range increased to 22.5, its explosion size increased to 5, and its DPS increased to 6.65. At level 3, for a total of 8,500 cash, its damage is increased to 60, its range increased to 26, its explosion size increased to 5.5, and its DPS increased to 27.96. It now also applies a burn effect, which deals 3 DPS for 16 seconds, resulting in a total of 48 burn damage. On top of this, it now has flying detection. Just to clarify, the DPS of 27.96 is considering the burn damage. Believe it or not, this is actually its max level. The Hallow Punk is the first tower in the game to have only 3 levels, which is honestly pretty disappointing. Still, let's take a look at its uses. At level 0, it has a value of 1.97 DPS per 1k spent, which is bad to say the least. However, remember that this is a splash attacking tower. If we assume it's hitting at least 2 enemies per hit, that gives it a DPS of 1.18 or a value of 3.93. That's still bad, and this is considering a best case scenario. But despite the bad value, it can actually defend up until wave 3 in follow mode. That's not great, but it's something. At max level, for a total of 8,500 cash, it only deals a pathetic 27.96 DPS. That gives it a value of 3.29, which once again is really bad. But again, especially since you might be using this more in the mid to late game, and it does have a bigger explosion size, let's assume it's hitting at least 3 enemies. That gives it a DPS of 83.88 and a value of 9.87. That's a decent value, but just way too low DPS to actually do anything. In comparison, let's take a look at another splash attacking tower, the Mortar. At level 5, for a total of 34,600 cash, it deals 114.03 DPS. It has a much bigger explosion, so let's assume it's hitting at least 4 enemies per shot. That's a total of 456.12 DPS and a value of 13.18. Not only is that way stronger, but also much better value. You can get a max of 12 Hallow Punks, but even with that, you're only getting a potential 251.64 DPS. And keep in mind, this is assuming it's hitting 3 enemies, which is honestly pretty generous. So it's a cheap splash attacking tower that's bad in the early game and too weak for the mid to late game. The only thing it has going for it is its high range, knockback, and decent coverage. Its range allows it to pretty consistently apply this knockback to enemies, but the knockback is honestly really small. If you're looking for a stalling tower, use literally anything else, like the electroshocker or even the freezer. In terms of coverage, being able to hit lead enemies and flying enemies is nice, but it really doesn't matter when your value and DPS sucks. This tower tries to be a mix of a support tower and a splash attacking tower, but unfortunately it falls short in both of these categories. Because of that, I'm gonna rank it as a C tier. It's not completely useless, as the knockback will help it at least a little, but there are so many other better options to use over this tower. It's also just sad that it only has 3 levels, as it makes this tower feel incomplete. Anyways, that's it for this video. Pretty short since this is a simple tower, but let me know in the comments below how you would rank it and whether or not you agree with me. And if you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to join the Blue Head Mafia. Also, if you want to talk to me, consider checking out my Discord. We got some pretty cool features, like a custom party finder bot that will automatically pair you up with other people who are trying to do the same strategy. There's a link to the server pinned in the comments. And finally, I want to give a huge shout out to these channel members for supporting my content. If you want to add me as a friend on Roblox or get early access to some of my videos, consider becoming a channel member. It helps me out a lot and I really appreciate it. Anyways, that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.